Is pink a Halloween color? Because if it isn't, it is now. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back. I'm Jeannie and in today's video we're going to do a pink Halloween mani. So I have a couple new colors that were gifted to me from West Coast Dips, so we're going to use some of those. So I've got Punk Princess and Illusion, and these colors, wait till you see them. They are so gorgeous. And I'm going to pair it with an existing color. So this is Prima, which is a beautiful solid pink color. And I'm super excited to get into this mani. I'll also be using my West Coast Dips dip liquids for this mani, and I am an ambassador for West Coast Dips, so you can always use my code Jeannie10 to save 10% off your orders. But let's get into this mani, starting with Prima. I am still sporting my shorties, although they are getting a bit longer, and I do have a layer of peel base on. I'm starting with a thin, even layer of dip base to my entire nail, and the West Coast Dips dip base is a thinner consistency. So Prima's gonna go on my index finger and ring finger. And what I've been finding since I started dipping on my natural nails more often is that I need more layers, especially if I'm using a thinner dip base. So my normal process, I do 2 dips of color and then capping in clear. But what I'm finding, if I don't have any kind of overlay, if I don't have like a builder gel overlay or I'm wearing tips, is that's just a little bit too thin for me, even though I may use peel base. So for this mani, I actually do 3 dips of color and then cap and clear, so 4 dips total. But you'll see at the end, they don't come out thick at all, so do not worry. I just like a little bit more thickness to prevent any cracking, because if your dip powder layers are too thin, you can experience cracking. Prima is still a little bit sheer after 1 dip, so I can still see my nail line, but after 2 full dips, I do get full coverage. You can't see my nail line anymore, but as I mentioned just a little bit ago, I do end up doing 3 layers, but that's just for thickness and not for opacity. And I'm only going to show you 2 dips though, because I don't want to be too repetitive. This dip base is about a medium to fast dry time, so by the time I'm done with my pinky, I am ready to dust off the excess powder. You always want to make sure that you're dusting off the excess powder in between your layers so you're not gunking up your dip base brush. So now I'm ready to go in with my second layer, and this is going to be the same process. I'm going to apply a thin, even layer of dip base to my entire nail, and then I'm going to dip into Prima. I did my 3rd dip of Prima off camera, so now I'm starting with Illusion, and this is going to go on my middle finger only. If you liked West Coast Dips Gel Polish Apparition, this is the dip powder version of it, and I'm so excited. It's now a dip version as well. So this is a thermal dip powder. When cold, it's black, and when warm, it turns into a milky white, and these are so fun. I think I've said it before, but I love these dip powder thermals for peekaboo manis, and the gel polish too. They're just really fun to do, especially around Halloween. As I work with this dip, you'll start seeing the color changes, and it's just so fun to watch. So similar to Prima, this is going to be 3 layers, but I'm only going to show you 2. I'm going to go ahead and cap my solids in clear and activate, and this is to prevent any glitter contamination. So the next dip I'm going to use is Punk Princess, which is a glitter, and if I don't activate my nails, a spray glitter can get on my solids and stick, which will drive
that's
me
just for
crazy.
solids.
I'd say
Now,
when you're working with a glitter,
is
you
a
need
personal
to cap in
preference.
clear, and it
I
doesn't
could
have
just
to be
go ahead
clear.
and
You can
activate
cap
my solids
in
and file
a
and buff on top
gel
of
base
that,
and
but
gel
for
top
me,
coat. You can cap
I don't
in a
like
builder
to
gel,
risk
whatever you
filing
want
for
to
the
cap
color,
in, but
maybe
you do
my
want to
color's
protect
looking
those glitters from
splotchy,
filing and
so
buffing,
that's why I like to
or
cap
else
in
you
clear
will file
first,
through
protect
the
my
colors.
color.
But I think with 3 dips, I probably didn't have to worry about that, but I still wanted to do that anyway. I am using the West Coast Dips Crystal Clear to do my capping, and I will say this is a super clear. I love this clear, but I will say whenever I'm doing a clear dip powder, I always make sure I have plenty of dip base to make sure that my clear is fully absorbed. And then after it's dry, I make sure I scrub my clear with a stiff scrub brush just to get off any of the excess powder. And then it is crystal clear, no graininess, no cloudiness. Once I give my nails a good scrub to remove any of the excess powder, I'm going to apply a generous amount of activator to those nails, and then they will harden as I work on my glitter dip powder. Now that my solids are activated, I'm now going to use Punk Princess, which is such a fun glitter. So it has all size hex glitters. So I see fine, small, and medium. It's not really large, which is great because it makes it easier to use. But there's all different colors. This one is so edgy and so fun. So there's black and silver, and there's a light pink, and then there's like a wine color. I just love the mix of these colors in this glitter. For my first layer of this glitter, I didn't bother pouring over just because I'm only going to do 2 layers of the glitter, and glitters naturally are chunkier, and so I don't want to do 3 layers, and I did pick up quite a bunch of glitters. So I'm going to take my orange wood stick and I'm just going to move them around while my dip base is still wet because I don't want them concentrated all in one area. So I want to move kind of quickly just because I want to do this before my dip base completely dries on me. If there are any loose glitters that aren't sticking, I'm just going to go ahead and remove them because I will be doing a second layer anyway, because I don't want to risk like having it half on my nail, half off, and then I may file through it. So I'd rather just remove them and just try to get that area covered with a second layer. For my second layer, because I want more even coverage of the glitters, I'm going to tap the jar against my table, and that's going to bring more of the larger glitter pieces to the surface of the jar. Because they're heavier, they tend to sink. So you either shake it or you tap it against your table to bring them to the surface. And so I dusted off camera because for the glitters, I didn't want to make a mess, so I did it directly in my trash can. So I'm applying a thin even layer of dip base to my entire nail, and I'm kind of laying my finger flat into the jar because I want to pick up more of those chunkier pieces, which I pick up a lot. So same thing, I'm going to kind of move around the glitters, clean up my cuticle area. Anything that's loose, I'm just going to go ahead and knock off because I don't want them sticking up when I go to cap and clear and file. I went ahead and capped the glitters in clear, activated, filed, and buffed everything off camera. So here's how it's looking. So now we're getting ready for my dip top coat. In order for your dip top coat to dry, it does need activator. So I'm going to apply one final layer of activator to all my nails. I just need one thin layer. And then I'm going to wait a full 2 minutes before I go in with my dip top coat. If you don't wait 2 minutes, you could risk contaminating your dip top coat and hardening your brush. So you want to make sure you wait because you want your activator to have plenty of time to dry. I waited my 2 minutes, so now I'm going in with my dip top coat. So for my first layer, I'm applying my top coat in 2 to 3 really quick swipes on each nail. In between each nail, I'm wiping my brush on a lint-free wipe in case there's any excess activator on it. And I'm going to continue on with all 5 nails. Once I'm done with my 5th nail, I'll be ready for my second layer of dip top coat, which you do need 2 layers in order for it to be super shiny. I don't know the science, but I do know that you do need 2 layers. So for my second layer, I am making sure my entire nail is covered. I can take more strokes with the brush, but I want to make sure that I'm not doing too many or else it could look streaky. You also want to make sure that you're capping your free edge to make sure that your mani lasts. And the dip top coat dries pretty quickly. I'd say within 2 to 3 minutes, it's completely dry. You'll notice that I still wipe my brush on a lint-free wipe in between each nail. It's not required for the second coat, but I think it's a good practice just to do, just in case, because I do not want to contaminate my dip top coat. After I finished this mani, I started to wonder if I needed a little something else, so I asked the other West Coast Dips ambassadors if I needed to add a little nail art, and they agreed that I needed to add something to my middle finger. So I decided I'm going to do a little cute pink pumpkin to go with the pink theme. So I picked out these West Coast Dips liners and I wasn't sure what color I was going to use. So I was just checking my thumb to see the colors of the glitters and what I wanted to use. So I thought the light pink would look best, but before I go in with my gel art, I want to make sure that I'm buffing off that dip top coat. If I tried to put the gel on top of my top coat, it would just peel off because it's too smooth. So you want to make sure that you have a rough surface that if you decide after your top coat that you want to apply some art, buff off that top coat and then you can go in with the art. So I buffed that off and then I'm going to remove the dust with a lint-free wipe and some isopropyl alcohol, and then I can start applying my nail art. In hindsight, I kind of wish I decided to do a water slide decal or stickers or something, because I don't know what I was thinking and I'm doing this on my dominant hand, which means I have to try to do this art with my non-dominant hand, which was pretty tricky. So I take my liner brush and I am going to try to find the right angle. This is super awkward. And I'm going to sort of draw like a half heart on the corner of my nail, and this is kind of going to be like the base for my pumpkin. I want to make sure that I'm not touching my skin, so I'm being very careful. And then if it looks like there's a little excess gel dripping, I'm going to make sure to wipe that off before I continue on. Gel liners are a little bit thicker and a little more pigmented than regular gel polishes, which makes them great for gel art, but you do need to be careful when using liners and make sure you do thin layers because they're thicker. If you have thick layers of the liners, it could cause wrinkling and not cure properly when you're trying to cure it, so make sure you use thin layers. Once I'm done with the outline of my pumpkin, I'm going to take that same pink and fill in the rest of the pumpkin, but I'm going to do that in super thin layers because I want to make sure that it's going to cure all the way through and not wrinkle on me. I'm also going to wrap the pink gel around my free edge and sidewall where that pumpkin is, just because I don't want it to kind of abruptly stop. I want it to look like it is on my nail. So I don't know if that's a weird thing that I do or if other people do it, but I just want to make sure that I'm fully covering the nail where there's the pumpkin. And I know it doesn't look like a pumpkin now, but we'll get there with some outlining once this is fully cured. So once I'm done with this, I'm going to cure it for a full 60 seconds because I'm going to apply gel on top of it. So I want to make sure this is fully cured before I go in with more gel on top. And I'm also going to apologize because I know at some points it gets a little blurry and sometimes I go out of frame. I was so focused on trying to get this pumpkin to not look crazy that I wasn't paying attention to camera, so I'm so sorry about that. Now that the base of my pumpkin is fully cured, I'm going to use this silver liner to make the outline of my pumpkin to make it look like an actual pumpkin. But I want to use a really skinny nail art brush because it's a smaller pumpkin. So I applied the gel to my resin palette, and I'm going to use this liner brush from the Painted Desert. It is my favorite liner brush because it is super skinny. So I'm just going to run my brush through the silver liner that's on my palette, and then I'm going to start outlining the pumpkin. So where I've got that first curve, I'm going to draw a line from the end of the pumpkin through the pumpkin around that first curve. And I want to make sure I have good coverage of that. So if I need to apply more gel, I'm going to apply more gel. And sorry, I'm a little off camera, but I do realize it at this point. I'm just going to make sure I've got that covered. I could have just had more gel on my brush to avoid doing some touch-ups, but because I'm working with my non-dominant hand, I wanted to make sure that I had control, so I would rather do a thinner layer and touch up where needed instead of accidentally having too much on my brush and going too thick and having to redo it. So once I've got that first down, I didn't cure. So now I'm going to do that second curve. So I'm going to overlap over that first line that I did in the middle of the pumpkin. So it's going to be similar to how I drew the outline of the pumpkin with the pink. And I'm going to do the same thing. So finding the right angle was super awkward, but I'm going to outline, trace the edge of the curve of that pumpkin, and then in the middle of the pumpkin, I wanted to overlap that first line that I did, and that's going to be the start of the outline. I haven't cured yet, and I'm going to do another curved line next to my first curved line because, you know, pumpkins kind of have that definition of those ridges. So I want it to look like that. So I'm going to do a curved line next to the first line I did. And then on the other side of the second line, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to do a curved line in the pumpkin as well. And sorry, I'm realizing it's a really hard process to try to describe, so I hope it's making sense. And if it's not making sense, I hope you can at least see enough of it to know what I'm doing. I'm going to give this a quick flash cure for 15 seconds, and then I'm going to take a just little bit of that black liner, and I'm just going to do a little stem on the top of the pumpkin. I debated trying to do like a vine or a leaf, but who am I kidding? I am using my non-dominant hand to try to do this, so a stem is just going to be just fine. So once I've got that little stem painted on, I'm just going to go ahead and cure it for a full 60 seconds. After that's fully cured, I'm going to go in with a layer of gel base and cure that for 30 seconds. And then I'm going to go in with my Quartz Ultra Shine Gel Top Coat and cure that for a full 60 seconds. When I'm using gel, I always like to make sure that I'm capping my free edge first before applying the gel to my entire nail. So once that's completely dry and cooled off, I'm going to go ahead and rehydrate my cuticles using my Scales of Mermaid cuticle oil. This is in the scent Existential Crisis, and this is a new one, and I am obsessed with it. It's got this really great fruity scent, and oh my goodness, I need a gallon of this. And here we are with the finished look. What do you think? Even though the pumpkin was challenging, I am glad I went back and added that because I think it just adds a little something more to this mani. So thank you to the other ambassadors for weighing in and telling me that I should do a pumpkin. So let me quickly show you the thermal change of Illusion. So this is cold water, so you can see that it's black and you can't even really see the stem of the pumpkin. But when I dip it into the hot water, you'll see that it's a milky white. So this transition is so fun. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this. And it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.